Tashidelek and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly news edition on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Speaker speaks at joint celebration of Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, Golden Jubilee and College for Higher Tibetan Studies, Silver Jubilee. 5th Geneva Forum concludes successfully. Delegation of Taiwan Foundation for Democracy led by its president visits Central Tibetan Administration. Department of Information and International Relations Secretary Choeying describes PRC's Sinicization policy a serious human rights violation at International Uyghur Forum. Representative Sonam Frasi attends Felicitation event of Kasur Pema by TCV Alumni UK in London. TSG Arunachal Pradesh selects Tarak and Nima Sange as new President and Secretary General. In the gracious presence of Kyabche Gandeti Rinpoche, Speaker Khenpo Sonam Temple addressed the joint celebration of Golden Jubilee of the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics and Silver Jubilee of the College for Higher Tibetan Studies, a branch of the IBT at the College for Higher Tibetan Studies in Sara on Friday last week. Chief guest of the event, Kyabche Gandeti Rinpoche and Speaker Khenpo Sonam Temple, along with special guest Secretary Lobsang Jimba of Gande Podang Foundation of the Dalai Lama, Sange Kendrul Tenzi Tide Rinpoche, reincarnation of the IBT and College for Higher Tibetan Studies founder Gen Lobsang Gyatso, Institute Director Geshe Samding Gyatso, Principal Pasang Tsiring, other esteemed guests, teachers, staff and students of IBT and College for Higher Tibetan Studies and alumni of the Institute were present to commemorate the significant milestone. Speaker during his address to the gathering applauded the multifaceted accomplishments of Gen Lobsang Gyatso, the founder, and the speaker recalled the founder's legacy and his invaluable contribution in the preservation of the distinct Tibetan language and religion under the guidance of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Institute of Buddhist Dialectics was founded by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama in 1973 and appointed Gen Lobsang Gyatso to establish and lead the institution. In 1991, Gen Lobsang Gyatso expanded upon the already successful work of the Institute with the founding of a new branch at Sara College for Higher Tibetan Studies. The Geneva Forum of 2023, jointly organized by the Department of Information and International Relations and the Tibet Bureau Geneva, concluded on 27th October. The concluding session was chaired by Kalu Nozudoma of the Department of Information and International Relations of the Central Tibetan Administration and Nicole Su, Director General of the Taipei Cultural and Economic Delegation in Geneva. The forum saw the sessions based on the broad themes of human rights decline, regions under China, discussed the status of human rights in regions under the PRC rule, silencing voices, China's assimilationist policy and crackdown on defenders, development or neo-colonization, Tibet and regions under China and China's global footprints, surveillance and transnational repression. On Monday this week, a delegation of Taiwan Foundation for Democracy visited the Tibetan Parliament in exile and met with Speaker Khenpo Sonam Temple, Deputy Speaker Thomas Ringteka and members of the Standing Committee. The delegation consisted of Huang Yu Lin, President, Taiwan Foundation for Democracy, Wu Pao Pen, Advisor, Overseas Compatriot Culture and Education Foundation, and Wu Ping Tsung, Deputy Director, Taiwan Foundation for Democracy. They were accompanied by Gesa Geze Bawa of the representative of the Office of Tibet, Taiwan. Welcoming the delegation, the speaker stressed on the need of Taiwanese Tibetans, Uyghurs and Inner Mongolians working together to spread awareness on the global platform regarding the lack of transparency in the Chinese government's policies and further briefed the delegation about the numerous Tibetan parliamentary delegations, meetings and visits to Taiwanese embassies in India and abroad and about the opportunity of hosting Taiwanese representatives at the Tibetan Parliament in exile. Deputy Speaker Thomas Rinteka explained the delegation on the evolution of Tibetan democracy in exile and shed light on the democratization of the Tibetan polity, which is a gift of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Secretary Choeying from the Department of Information and International Relations of Central Tibetan Administration addressed the International Uyghur Forum Global Parliamentarian Convention on Building Alliance through exploring cross-movement solidarity at Japan Parliament Building in Tokyo on 31st October. Tibetan parliamentarian Tochitsiden, Representative Dr. Arya Tsawangebo, Office of Tibet, Japan, and Dr. Lobsang Yangso from the International Tibet Network attended the conference alongside Secretary Choeying. In his keynote speech, Secretary Choeying raised his concern over the systematic extermination and Sinicization of cultural heritages and ethnic identities of subjugated groups under the Chinese communist regime, including Tibetans and Uyghurs. He called it a serious human rights violations and stressed Chinese communist regime as an apparent threat to the global economic and political stability. The two-day forum from 30 to 31st October was jointly organized by the Japan Uyghur Parliamentary Caucus and the World Uyghur Congress to facilitate cooperation among proactive parliamentarians, politicians, human rights advocates, civil society representatives and scholars who are actively engaged in addressing human rights violations under the People's Republic of China. As a mark of gratitude to the Mother of Tibet, Representative Sonam Farsi-led staff of the Office of Tibet in London attended the Felicitation event of Lhajam Kusho Kasur Pema, organized by the TCV Alumni UK on 28th October. At the request of the Tibetan community in Britain, Representative Sonam Farsi presented Tibetan Community of Britain's Appreciation Award to Lhajam Kusho. In her acceptance speech, Kasur Pema advised on preserving Tibetan language and culture and highly stressed on the importance of unity amongst Tibetans, drawing reference to the lyrics and playback of His Holiness words in the Song of Unity sung as part of the event's cultural performances, pointing out that the British people here will identify anyone amongst you here only as a Tibetan and not Kamba, Amdo or Uzang. The Honorable Kasur Pema is the former Education Minister and President of the Tibetan Children's Villages, who was instrumental in educating with compassion about a third of the Tibetan diaspora population. Tibet Support Group of the Arunachal Pradesh, in its meeting held at Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh on 27 October, chaired by former Minister Tengyol Tarak, selected Tarak and Nima Sange as the President and the Secretary General of the TSG respectively, and decided to form the committee soon. The Tibet Support Group Arunachal Pradesh President post was lying vacant due to the untimely demise of sitting incumbent Kichok Kapak on 22 October 2021. Host of social activists and cooperators present observed 2 minutes silence to pray for the departed soul to rest in eternal peace. Sange and Tibet Support Group Arunachal Pradesh founding member Anok Wangsa highlighted on the status of Tibet, Tibetan issues and stressed to take up their various issues in consultation with the national apex body, the core group for Tibetan cause India, headed by R.K. Krime as the national convener. Tarak assured to lead the organization with team spirit to fulfill its aims and objectives and endorsed middle-way approach of the Central Tibetan Administration to resolve the Tibet issue, according to the TSG Arunachal Pradesh release. That is all the news for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. Thank you for watching Tibet TV.